If you were on the internet yesterday, you might have seen a headline that was the following. ESPN's Pat McAfee and others amplified a false rumor a teenager's life was destroyed. And to be honest, this is, I think, a really interesting story to talk about and a really important story to talk about. Not just for McAfee and the other people involved, but I think for sports media as a whole, for media as a whole, and kind of social media as a whole. This is a really important thing to discuss, so that's why I wanted to bring it up. Plus, it's the offseason, there's no football to talk about. So, yeah, let's get into it. What actually happened here and what's going on? So first, we have to talk about a rumor that started with a woman who I'm going to just leave her name out. I'm just going to call her M in this video, just because try to protect the names as much as possible. Their names are out there. I'm not doing much, but I'm going to do my best here. So the allegations were that M had cheated on her boyfriend with her boyfriend's father, who's a prominent Texas-based private banker. That is the rumor. And it's a little unclear as to how this rumor actually started. Apparently, it started on an app called Yik Yak, which is something I'm too much of a boomer to fully understand. Hey, I'm almost 30. You're watching my video. You're going to have to deal with me not understanding the ins and outs of something called Yik Yak. But ultimately, the rumor started on there, but it wasn't an ironclad rumor. It wasn't like someone had said, I saw this happening, I'm close to the story, and this happened. It was purely just a rumor. There was no news report, nothing like that. But this started to pick up some steam, usually on like far-right Twitter accounts. Like this was one of the first ones chronologically to really kind of amplify this a little bit. You see there's 1.5 million views on it. Twitter views are weird, but still. It's M goes viral. I've censored some of the faces and names, but M goes viral for allegedly sleeping with boyfriend's dad, and he still stayed with her. There is, pictures of them. There is the dad's, name and where he works on there. There was also a long message that was a bit sloppy to read, almost as though it wasn't actually, written and isn't a real message. Most people actually commenting were critiquing the writing more than anything else. You see, that's what a lot of the comments were saying, or replies, I should say, were saying. The top one does also throw in a "What is wrong with women today?" The bottom one is really funny to me because it says, "This can't be true. How does a dad stoop that low?" Here's the thing. This story is almost certainly untrue. Everyone involved in the story has vehemently denied it, including M's boyfriend, who, according to the story, heard about this and then decided to stay with his girlfriend. Now, maybe he's lying to protect her, but the odds are this is just a fake story. At the very least, this is a story that you can't sit here and say definitively or with any clear evidence has any basis in reality. But ultimately, again, people online are going to say things. It sucks. It's a nature of the platform. But here's where Pat McAfee comes in. It's worth mentioning this was a story that was out there, but was not a huge story at this point. But McAfee had heard about it, and he decided to make some jokes with Adam Schefter about it on his show. I'm going to play about a 30 to 45 second clip. Hopefully I'll be able to play the video, but maybe it'll get copyright claimed. So if not, then you'll just hear the audio of it. But yeah, let me just play the clip. There's a few cuts in here just to get rid of some sort of dead air and things like that. But so there's a couple cuts, but I'm not taking anything out of context. Anyway, let's just show the clip.
Yeah, Jackson Dart, Ole Miss guy, though. So you're going to have to check in on his father, make sure everything kind of lines up there. Yeah, just to make sure.
What do you mean?
The right kind of culture type of guy.
Yeah, is Jackson Dart of Ole Miss's dad snooping around?
Yeah, which happens at Ole Miss. I mean, that's kind of a situation that can.
I'll tell you what, there's some Greek life getting called into question.
Look out.
Learn a lot about the KDs, I think.
Parents' weekend's going to be lit.
Well, I think they're actually not doing it this way.
That would make more sense.
Yeah, from what I've been told, down there in Ole Miss. Have you heard anything about any of this?
No.
Oh, just wait. Some Ole Miss frat bro.
Yep. Sure.
Okay. Had a KD girlfriend. Allegedly.
This is the story we know.
Allegedly.
At this exact moment, this is what is being reported by everybody on the internet. Dad had sex with son's girlfriend.
Now, a couple of things worth mentioning. For one, this allegation had not yet been denied by M or her family or her boyfriend at this point, or her boyfriend's family at this point. So that is worth mentioning. But ultimately, definitely a thing that if you watch it, you might believe this story. McAfee did say allegedly, so legality, we'll talk about where he's covered and where he isn't towards the end of this video. But as of right now, definitely I can see why M would be upset, and you could argue he put some fuel on the fire, and this fire continued to burn, where people like KFC Barstool and Jack Mack and Antonio Brown all tweeted about it, which if you're listening to Antonio Brown, that's kind of on you. But still, nonetheless, this story started to get bigger and bigger, and really, most people found it to be a funny story. Like how McAfee was laughing about it, there was a meme coin created about it, and ultimately, you do understand why the internet was having fun with it. On paper, it is a funny story. But ultimately, we have to remember as a society that when memes get created, these are still real people. It's worth mentioning, M is just 18 years old, which is definitely a young age to be having to go through anything, let alone something as potentially toxic as this. So what did she have to go through? Well, immediately after this story broke, she was doxxed. People found out where she lived. She was staying in a dorm room at the time, and she had what she described as vile messages slipped under her door, which caused her to ultimately decide to switch to emergency housing, which is, I believe, a place usually designed for people who are homeless, but she decided to switch there, and she switched to online courses, was no longer going to classes in person. Feeling like you have to go through something like that is already pretty unfortunate, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Her parents were then swatted. Yes, you were hearing me correctly. Her parents were swatted after this, which, if you're unsure of what that means, that's essentially when someone who has the address of usually a celebrity, they call into the police and say, I have a tip where at this address something horribly illegal is going on. So usually then police will show up to that address with guns drawn, ready for a potential battle, which is not that's a scary thing to have to go through. And that's what happened. Houston police showed up at M's mother's house with guns drawn. Again, this would be horrible to do even if the allegations were true. But even if the allegations were true, the mother had nothing to do with this. So this is just kind of crazy that this happened. M's phone number was also posted online, which immediately got to voicemails being left on her phone. One man said that she had been a naughty girl and cheerfully asked if she would give him a call. Another male caller said that he has a son too, in case she's interested. Then others calling her things like slut, whore, and advising her to kill herself. It has gotten to the point where she says that she barely leaves her house, and when she does, she wears sunglasses and a hat to try and conceal her identity, because she says, and this is an exact quote, I can't even walk on campus without people taking pictures of me or screaming my name or saying super vulgar, disgusting things to me. And while those parts are bad enough, I think she also brings up in the article a really important point as well, which is she has concerns of if this could affect her getting a job someday. Again, she's 18. She does not have a current job, and if she is trying to get hired, if people Google her name, the first thing that's going to come up is this story that appears to be untrue. And if that's the case, I mean, that's just kind of horrible. It is worth mentioning the Oxford police have said that they are investigating a lot of this stuff because some of this is illegal. They're trying to figure out who did it, but ultimately, that is where we have it right now. But yeah, the family and boyfriend have, given support of M. The boyfriend wrote, these past couple of days have been extremely difficult for everyone in my life. The unbelievable rumors about my family and M are unacceptable and need to be addressed. The accusations are unequivocally false. And then he continued to say that he has full faith in his father and their relationship. So that was what the boyfriend said. M's dad kind of rules. Like, he was posting on Facebook a lot, really defending her, which is what you want out of a dad, right? He did say that the only way I could describe what's happening is it's like you're walking your daughter down the street, holding her hand, and a car mirror snags her shirt and starts dragging her down the road, and all you can do is watch. You can't catch the car. You can't stop it from happening. You just have to sit there and watch your kid be destroyed. She has engaged in legal representation and says she does intend to take action against McAfee and ESPN, and has also said potentially some others as well. Another quote from her is, I would like people to be held accountable for what they've done. You're ruining my life by talking about it on your show for nothing but attention, but here I am staying up until 5 a.m. every night throwing up. not eating because I'm so anxious about what's going to happen for the rest of my life. Which, again, I mean, keep in mind, this is an 18-year-old going through this, which, like, at 18, the smallest things freaked me out. Certainly, something like this would be really hard for someone to go through, even if it was something you actually did. Like, even if she actually was guilty of this is still too much, right? As of right now, no one who I have mentioned that has kind of elevated this story has responded to this, probably in part because there might be legal action taken, and so they don't feel like they should say anything, which, that part you do understand. But a lot of people might say, okay, I get it. McAfee played a role in amplifying a fake rumor, but legality-wise, what can you really do here? Well, M's legal representation said they elevated a lie from the worst corners of X to millions of general sports fans just to get a few more clicks and ultimately a few more dollars. While they don't have to deal with it after it airs, the lie is chained to M for the rest of her life. But ultimately, legally, I don't really know what you can do about a situation like this. I really don't. I mean, I guess one thing you could do is if you threaten legal action, people will hopefully stop talking about the rumor. Maybe that's in part the idea. But for McAfee, legally, where it comes to getting, committing a crime for something like this, there isn't a lot of things you can do. Essentially, for McAfee to be legally found guilty of a crime, or even to lose in a civil court, which is probably how this is going to end up going, the crime he would have to commit is knowingly spreading a false rumor. That's not the crime he committed here. The crime he committed was believing something with barely any evidence and then, broadcasting it on a major platform. I don't really know if you can win in a lawsuit against what he has done. He did say allegedly, which will help. And ultimately, even if he didn't, I think he could simply just claim, well, I believed this to be true and I was wrong. And it'd be hard to argue. Ultimately, I do wonder if ESPN is going to, at a certain point, because McAfee has started to get in more and more controversy, I wonder if at a certain point they're just going to say, like, hey, you have to have a fact checker on this show, because the reality is that's kind of how McAfee's show works, is they just take whatever they see that they think would make a good story and talk about it. They don't fact check things, like even a lot of silly sports stories. They are not fact checking it. If they see someone say it, they'll usually just put that quote with a question mark at the end for their YouTube thumbnail. That's kind of how they operate. I was curious, so I looked at some of the replies on, again, it's Twitter. It's the worst place in the world. I get it. But this was after she had, this is right after, you see, February 27th. So this is after she had denied the allegations and then, and had criticized the people that had amplified the allegations. The top one saying, I was watching PMS. He said, allegedly, stop playing the victim, you whore. Womp womp, girl sucks, and that kid is a cock. Also, I want to check some of the replies from the one The Athletic tweeted it out themselves. And again, I get it, Twitter's kind of the worst place in the world. But ultimately, you saw most people either criticizing the woman involved, M, or criticizing Pat, which very few people saying like that, feeling any sympathy for the woman involved. The top one says, hope she shoes the living SH out of everyone, including The Athletic. I'm not sure why you'd want to sue The Athletic, but okay. Someone's, criticizing Pat McAfee, which is, I think more reasonable. And then someone saying these hoes do anything but take accountability for their actions. A lot of anti-woman stuff on here is what you'll see going through this, which is not cool. But okay, that is the story. It is I think, important story. For one thing, the people involved, it's important. But why did I want to make this? Well, for one thing, I think we do have to be critical of people who are not properly fact-checking things. Listen, you're going to get stuff wrong, especially with new media, which doesn't have to go through the same scrutiny that, traditional media has to go through, right? For me, it's one person discussing this stuff. It's possible I got something wrong in this video, although I do make a big effort to try and get everything right. If I did get something wrong, I want you to challenge me, and I want you to bring it up in the comments below. There's also just going to be details left out because you have to leave certain details out. If I, leave those details out, definitely make sure to put those in the comments as well. Like this should not be something that you take my word for everything. And in fact, I'm going to challenge you to do something. If you made it this far into the video, I'm going to challenge you to do something else, which is, if this is not something you typically do, make an effort with this story to read someone else's thoughts on it. And I don't just mean on Twitter. I mean, find an article or maybe another YouTube video that you feel like you can trust and just get multiple sources on everything. At the end of the day, you should never just trust something because you hear people saying it. And also, when you see something like this that turns out to be incorrect, take note of who said the incorrect thing and pay attention to that. Ultimately, that's what I do because it's my job with football is I'll see certain people tweet something out and I'll say, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it from a more reliable source. And a lot of times those things turn out to be, false. Every now and then they're true as well, but I just can't trust those kind of sources, right? That's just how I view it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this weird story. Let me know yours in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.